Alrighty, we are live. How's it going, everybody in the chat? If you can tell, there's a little kerfuffle of technical difficulties setting this up on Black Angus's channel, but that's all right. We got in with the save over here on the Rookie Critics channel. So, how's everybody doing today? Okay, okay. Nobody wants to answer. All right, all right.
I was texting.
Cold shoulder. Okay.
So there I was, balls deep in.
Well, I mean, I guess to lead us off, if anyone hasn't seen, I'm not sure how it quite transpired initially, but somehow a small channel that can be perceived at least as a Disney Star Wars shill channel, and it's kind of damning because like I've watched a lot of his stuff. Everything is just like, oh yeah, it's so great. Disney's so great, and like I'm watching his audio commentary on Last Jedi, in parts because I can't stand to think about the Last Jedi too much. And he's like, oh yeah, like this joke, it was just a hair off. And it's like, oh dude, come on, this joke and the whole sequence of bombing and all that is just awful. Well, anyway, he somehow got the ire of D-Day Cobra, which is Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers. His ire on Twitter, and they started doing this little throwdown, if you will, back and forth on Twitter, and I kind of got in the middle of it, partially to try to get the Fandom Collective, our new idea, our new, sort of Fandom in his face too, trying to get us a few followers potentially, and then Jeremy keeps calling this guy a bitch and stuff, and I'm trying to like kind of like, hey, like you got 90,000 subs, this guy's got 400, like. Maintain the high ground, Obi-Wan. And I don't know, it's kind of I've had actually some dialogue on Twitter with at chat, so I have different opinions, a little bit more humanized than an NPC. He hates Black Panther like I do, so he's got a little more flesh on the bones than just the Last Jedi NPC that I thought he was. So it'll be interesting. We're planning for a debate with Rookie as a mod. In January, right,
yeah,
Rookie?
In January, yeah.
Sometime in January, hopefully. So I'm doing my homework. I'm currently in the middle of video 2 of Mahler's Critique, just to go through with a fine-tooth comb any stuff that I have missed in my initial page I wrote down a month ago about my problems with The Last Jedi. And I plan to have like a cool monologue, kind of a unique setup, and I don't know, it'll probably be kind of Steven Crowder-esque as far as like, oh, let's define terms, let's be sure we're clear about what we're discussing, etc. And hopefully have Shellback, who is Hallmark Channel Jeremy, on at the end to file grievances with Adat Chat and his following for the comments there.
I think we'll set up like a thing where at the end or something, anybody that wants to come on can come on and say some stuff, so there's no interruptions or back and forths.
Yeah, it'll be at the end.
I'd say it'd be just us 3 during the actual debate, and then people can come in and talk if they want, or we answer their questions or something. But yeah, I'll say too, I do kind of agree with Jeremy as far as like sub count shouldn't really matter either. Like, like how small or big do you have to be to have a response too? So, I mean, I do think that he's a little out of hand when he goes on Twitter sometimes. Oh, this guy's a bitch, a little asshole. It's like, oh, come on, calm down, dude. But it's like, there's as far as the number, it doesn't really matter. What?
Jeremy isn't known for moderation.
True. Yeah, he even says in that same tweet he's an asshole.
Yeah, when he goes full on something, he goes full tilt. But I will give Jeremy the benefit of the doubt, because when he gets jerked up short, he goes, I apologize, I went too far.
True. And he does admit he's an asshole. So it's not like he's oblivious to his attitude sometimes. So that's a good quality.
Yep. All right. Well, Rookie, you want to explain to all the good folks who are here what we're going to dive into today?
All right, yeah. So we are on with Geoff TheIronWolf, the howling to the ether, howling to the ether, and seeing who will howl back. And we got Black Angus reviews here for film, philosophy, and was it fun? No, just kidding.
The NFL, dumbass.
I know. Film, philosophy, and fun. So FFF, that's the Black.
The three of life: film, philosophy, and football, otherwise known as the NFL.
Okay, that makes sense. I just wanted to see how you'd respond with that. And yeah, so we're just talking, news, pop culture, whatever. This isn't like a Rookie Corner stream where it's mostly film centric. So over here, the ball game is basically anything. So, let's start. Do you guys want to start with something fun or new stuff?
Well, let's start with something and probably should have a moment of silence.
Okay.
Former President Bush, he's probably the first president that I can actually remember, because I was born in the Reagan time, but I was too young to really understand Reagan. Bush was literally the first president I could literally remember and understand. And he passed away yesterday. Cricket?
Yep, I thought we were doing a moment of silence.
I was hoping you'd have like 20 minutes of silence, just like see who budges first. You're like, what's wrong? What's wrong? No one's responding to my chat.
Oh, we had our moment, but I just wanted to bring that up, and he did pass away. And so I actually did just a quick stroll on his Wikipedia, and that man had a long service to this country.
Yeah, he was like a Navy engineer or something No,
he was a pilot. He flew Avengers.
Oh, he was a pilot himself. Okay, so I saw a picture. I thought maybe he was like the movie Tora Tora Tora, where they got like the bombers spotters in the back of the plane. I thought that's what he was doing.
No, he was an actual pilot. He flew Avengers. In fact, he flew in the Battle of the Philippine Sea as an Avenger pilot, and then during a raid, he was shot down and actually got picked up by a submarine. And then afterwards, he was governor of Texas during Gerald R. Ford's tenure as president. He was director of the CIA.
Yeah, I'm kind of ambivalent, or maybe even a bit I won't say hateful, but like I don't. From what little I know about Bush, I don't like, not because he's a Bush or whatever, but just stuff I've found about him. Not even looking for it. Seems really shady guy as president. He's the only guy. As a former president that would still go to CIA briefings.
Well, he had top secret clearance. He was a former director.
No. I understand that, but he was like the only president that would keep going to the CIA debriefs, especially concerning the Middle East, because he had business ventures there. And I get that, like, oh well, you know, saying, but it just seems like an abuse of power, even after the not being president now, because your son's now the president while you keep going to these CIA debriefs. Just seems really shady to me. So
as a former director, you kind of get involved. You're never really out.
I don't know. I think it's problematic. Even if it's allowed, I think it's something that should be repealed. If Trump, a guy I like, was doing that in the future to help his business ventures, I would detest him. Detest Obama. Like, I'm fair, so I don't want people to think I'm like, oh, I'm a Democrat or I'm Republican minded. It's
you're
fair.
a snowflake SJW.
The man was a former director of the CIA. They probably brought him in because they wanted to pick his brain. It's not like he was just going just for shits and giggles. He probably got asked a bunch of times, and they wanted his input because he knew a lot about the area, dealt with a lot about the area's time as director. So it's kind of one of those things. Once you've been that deeply entrenched in the CIA, you kind of get called back to advise and, talk about it.
No, again, like that. Like there's a line, I think, where it's like, okay, this makes sense, but like it seems from what I know that this really aided his business ventures, and it just seems like a breach of power, if you will, for lack of a better term. It just seems very unethical, even if it's allowed and all well and good legally. It's just makes you question the ethics of the guy.
Not really. I mean,
in my book, it does. There's lines like, if at least I envision if I was able to be in like that position where it's like, I don't think I would cross these lines. There's certain bits of integrity I have that go beyond military and stuff. So like that's where I'm coming from, is like this kind of idealized self if I was in his position of power. But you never know once you're there. So
let's look at it this way: how do you know that his business ventures wasn't what the CIA wanted him to do in the first place? There is that.
I mean,
yeah.
No, it's an interesting point. But it still just seems. I don't know. It reminds me of like the rumored idea that FDR allowed, like he knew about Japan coming, and theoretically allowed Pearl Harbor to happen for, like, you know, essentially a false flag kind of movement where it's like, oh, these bad Japanese, they bombed us, let's rally the troops. And, you know, it's kind of like that type of like misgivings, misdeeds that are in question from what I know. So that's where I'm coming from.
Angus, he actually did know about it, but by the time he could have done anything about it, it was already too late. By the time he'd gotten warning to Pearl Harbor, the attack was already underway. It's not like he knew days before. He knew maybe an hour. And by the time he could have gotten a warning out there, and by the time it would have gone through channels, it was already too late.
Well, no, what I'm referring to is not like, oh, like there's, you know, Japanese around Hawaii, but we don't know. Like from what I understand, you know, I'll research to clarify, and I'll say if I was wrong or not. I'll admit that. But from what I understand, what I'm referencing is they knew. Let's just say 12 hours to 24 hours. They knew, oh, there's this Japanese fleet. It's heavily armored, etc. And then they just, they just disappeared.
They just knew that things were deteriorating. The Japanese were about to break off diplomatic relations, and there was a probability of attack. They didn't know, like, there's a 24 hours beforehand, there's a fleet sitting off and they're going to attack. No, he didn't know that. He just knew that shit was going south and they were probably going to attack us at some point. Like when Pearl Harbor got attacked, it was, all right, well, I guess I was right, but I just didn't know that the Japanese were that fast off the mark.
No, it just seems odd because I've watched some like more recent documentaries about the CIA knew a bunch of stuff. That's why they, like, you know, broke these dealings, because they knew the Japanese weren't going to cooperate, etc. So it seems like
Angus, the CIA didn't exist in World War II.
No, not the CIA. I said the Secret Service.
Secret Service didn't do that in World War II.
Whatever agency that was, you know, tapping, wiretapping or phone tapping, whatever you want to call it, even if it wasn't the.
Well, Angus, you've seen the movie Pearl Harbor, right? You remember Dan Aykroyd's role where he's that intelligence person. He's like, you know, slowly figuring it out.
Intelligence. There you go. Like, what? It doesn't matter if, like, they were called Secret Service, they were called yet, whatever, or if they're institutionalized yet. The people that you would know today as Secret Service working for intelligence for FDR, it seems like they were pretty on the ball, knowing about misgivings with Japan, and so there's room to argue that FDR and the administration allowed Pearl Harbor to happen to get us involved, and to, you know, even if we prospered afterwards, like there's an ethical cost that is argued if this is the case.
They were working it out as the attack happened. That whole thing, they knew a day before. It's hogwash. They were still trying to figure it out. They were still trying to break all the coding and figure out how it was all filling together by the time the attack happened. It's kind of like the attack on 9/11. The CIA had the pieces to it, but they didn't have the whole picture until it already had happened. I mean, there's a difference between having the information, having it processed, and figuring out, okay, they're going to do this. Because trust me, I'm from the intel field.
Adam Shahan in the chat says the world and the problems of today started back in the 1960s.
The problems of today started long before that. I would say in the 50s.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I really have no comment on that stuff. I didn't even really know George Bush's dad or, you know, Bill Clinton, other than the drama stuff about him. So I'm way.
I know a bit. I mean, H.W. Bush basically inherited Reaganomics economy, which was in a major recession, almost to the point of a depression, because that whole trickle-down bullshit doesn't work.
What was the trickle-down again, where, like, rich people make jobs and that will supply all of America or something?
Yeah, like the money will go down and trickle down to the bottom. Reaganomics and trickle-down bullshit doesn't work. It never has. It never will. It's unsustainable.
Right.
And George Bush had the unenviable position of trying to fix the fucking economy while trying to take apart the, you know, over-bloated military. Basically, everything Clinton did, Bush wanted to do, But then he got slapped at the first Gulf War, which is a war he couldn't afford in the first place, and that's why he had to jack up taxes.
Okay.
And that's basically why he got defeated, because he wanted a second term to undo all of that and actually start fixing the economy. That was Bush's entire goal, was to unscrew everything Reagan had done.
Isn't that why most presidents serve 8 terms practically? It's like, okay, the first 4 years, you're something new from the old one, and then you don't really do anything those first 4 years, and then you go, oh shit, I gotta really do something now. And then they all of a sudden, within their last 4 years, start doing stuff.
Oh, no.
It's usually backwards. No, it's usually if they get 2 terms, the first term, if Congress is in their favor, that's when they get everything done. And then it's always the second term where they have a lot of like stalemates or just complete opposition.
Yeah, look at the 8 years of Clinton. His first 4 years, he practically dismantled the gigantic bloated military we had. It was his second term that he basically had to fight Congress tooth and nail because it was a Republican Congress. And the amount that he got in his second term, despite a Republican Congress, speaks volumes to how good of a president he was.
The Lone Wolf Cub says Reagan started the deregulation. What? The deregulation. That's why we had the finance crisis.
He kind of did that, but Clinton kind of fixed it. Bush Jr. was the one who really did the deregulation. He kicked that in a high gear.
Okay. Yeah. I think I only vaguely started to pay attention to politics when Obama was elected, because that's when I started high school and started to kind of start learning about current events, I guess. So like I only know bits and pieces.
Is that he could have done more if he hadn't blown all his political capital trying to shove through Obamacare.
Yeah, probably.
He literally spent all of that. I mean, it is something funny, and even Angus will love this one. You know that Million Women March that happened on Trump right after he got inaugurated?
Yeah.
They marched on the wrong president. They should have marched on Obama. He had done something.
That's true.
Trump didn't give a shit.
He would have responded like, oh yeah, hey, I sympathize. And this one's like, nah, wrong president.
Yeah.
For that march, anyway.
Angus, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, sure, protests, but like, it makes more sense to try to get the guy on your side to appease your wishes than it does to like, hey, we're at political odds. You need to do what I want, and it's like, well, that's totally against my stance. Well, fuck you. I'm gonna protest, and it's like you're not accomplishing anything. It's like,
yeah, and right now the Million Women March is literally in the process of eating itself.
Yeah, okay, so like, I'm an atheist, and coming through, the knowledge ranks on like YouTube with like the 4 Horsemen stuff. Eventually, I found the Satanic Temple, which is not devil worshippers. It's an atheist, quote unquote, religion, if you will. It's it's linked on like a series of kind of libertarian and humanist ideals. I'm like, okay, I like this stuff. But then you look at the organization; they got shady shit with trying to silence, pretty much put gag orders on anyone who leaves their organization to not talk bad about them, etc. And then like their politics are completely against my conservative ideals. They're all about personal liberty and stuff, and yet they're heavy on abortion, and that's something as a conservative atheist I cannot partake of. It's unethical to me, even as an atheist, with like kind of the American ideals of liberty and the individual being the most precious body of the government.
Oh well, let's step off politics before we step on a landmine there. But
no. Like we're already talking about politics. But I just like giving it like some context personally.
Yeah. But let's move on to some Star Wars. I know that's what the people are pumped for.
Yeah, so the Star Wars Galaxy Adventure series. Did you guys watch the first little episode they posted? And what do you think?
I haven't watched the episode yet, but I can only imagine. I mean, I watched the trailer, and from the trailer, my only thought is this is them trying to revise history. The animation is absolutely horrid. And the premise that, oh, we're trying to repackage the original trilogy so little kids can understand it better is complete garbage. At 5 years old, I understand the original Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't grasp, like, you know, the oh my god, deeper meaning, so I was much older, but I got.
Yeah, it's kind of unnecessary. I mean, I watched the first episode, and it's literally just like 15-second skits, basically, of different things that happened in the movies, and they play the audio clips from the movies over the animations.
Yeah, I saw that even in the preview, and it just looked and sounded horrible.
But it's like, to me, it wouldn't be that bad if it was like, okay, Disney is trying to do something new, where they try to find people with talent and, you know, are promoting the projects, kind of giving them a chance to use Star Wars to kind of explore their talents and see what they can do. Like if that was a fan-made project, like they found somebody on YouTube and they're like, oh, this guy is pretty good at editing and he wants to edit some stuff, so let's give him a chance to edit Star Wars things and we'll play our Star Wars clips and music over it. That would have been kind of cool. But since it isn't, it's their professionally made ones. It's disappointing. It's like, oh, that's what that was? Huh.
No, I don't know. Like, it doesn't look bad. It's kind of like there's no really defining lines in the animation, so it comes across as flat, as opposed to like the 2003 Clone Wars by the Samurai Jack people. And so it really, like, you know, especially like the Luke and Wampa. Like the Luke's wearing white and the Wampa's, you know, whitish blue, and he blends in with the ice really bad, more than, you know, the camouflage scheme of like the fur live action Wampa. And it was like that, and like I watched the one with like Vader and the Imperial March, and they got this narration in between when he's stepping off the Imperial like shuttle, where they're saying that some random, like, you know, millennial, like our age kind of person is like, Vader is the ruler of the Empire, and he has the Empire's forces at his disposal. And it's like, what? Like, you don't need that. You see it. You don't have to say
if they
it.
would shut up, that'd be nicer if they just, you know, let it show us instead of telling us.
Well, a couple of other scenes that I had problems with was like when Luke ignites the lightsaber and suddenly his hair blows. Like, a lightsaber doesn't do that.
Well, yeah, but in an animation, in any animation, like a cartoon thing, they overemphasize visuals like that, so it seems more fantastic. So, I mean, whether or not that would happen, I mean, for any cartoon or animation, stuff like that happens all the time.
And then there's that scene where, you know, the iconic scene on the Tantive 4 where Vader's going, I want to know what the plans that they sent you. And you see Leia just scowling that little girl pouty face up at Vader. I'm just cringing, going, oh god, that just looks so terrible.
Well, yeah, didn't she like kick a stormtrooper in this animation? I didn't see that, but
they didn't show that little skit in the animation episode yet, so I don't know.
It was just so cringeworthy during the preview. I was just like, no, not happening for me.
Well, it just seems so pointless. Like I said before, if it was like they found some YouTubers or content creators or somebody and they were like, okay, you know, I'll put some of your animation skills to the test and have, you know, instead of just these animations for retelling these, maybe they pick people that are doing claymation or Lego stuff or, you know, different types of Star Wars projects, even the Vader fan film, if they were to sort of support it in some way. You know, of course, they always love making their profit, you know, especially if they're giving somebody else a platform on YouTube for it. I mean, I think that would be a better use of it, and it wouldn't be as annoying and would be a good step toward, you know, getting some good faith with the fans. But again, since this is professionals from Disney making these animations, it seems very pointless. Like, no one really has anything to gain from it. I mean, a kid might go, haha, he got zapped, and that's about the extent of it. I don't know.
Well, the other thing too is like they're like minute 15 or so shorts, and so it's like, you know, the Star Wars movies are each, you know, 2 hours, give or take a few minutes, and it's just made for like ADD kids that, you know, it's like, just sit them down and watch the movies. Like, the movies are made for, it's like Shrek, they're made for all ages. You know, when I was a kid, I didn't like the original trilogy because it wasn't flashy as opposed to prequels with like the CGI and the color. And so, you know, like I liked the color and the CGI and the effects. And then you get older, you appreciate the story and the themes. But there's something about everything that appeals generationally throughout. Um,
Well, and I'll admit too. So with the animations, if it looked like a really good anime or like just a better quality of animation, and if they had more emphasis on the music or the sound effects rather than any dialogue or narration, then I think I would give it more credit for being a visual story, kind of like visual short cartoons. Still pointless, but I think it would be more justified. You know?
Rookie, look at that TIE Fighter shirt that one fan did, what, about 2-3 years ago? It looks far superior than Galaxy of Adventures.
Wait, what was that?
The TIE Fighter short that's on YouTube right now, it's done a couple of years back. It looks way superior and eye-catching than Galaxy Adventures can even come close to. And it's an original story.
Yeah, that would be good. Sorry, I was looking at a message.
Well, not only that, I mean, Galaxy Adventures, they could easily use that to bring, certain stories to the forefront that are currently in the EU, like Shadows of the Empire, because they have nothing explaining what happens in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi and how Luke got his green lightsaber. You could have the Dash Rendar and Shadows of the Empire story, which would be great for a little kid show.
Yeah, or like, you could use it to do sort of like how like Clone Wars and Rebels are set up to be kind of in-betweeners between the movies. You could do that where it's like, oh, this is like, from what I understand, that's what Forces of Destiny cartoon shorts are, where it's like, Rey. Well, here's a side story that you never see in the movie. It's like, you can use the same characters, but you don't have to like copy and paste it with just animation over the top of it. Like, make something new. In those storylines, like that'd be fine.
That's a good idea. Going on that too, they could also show other things going on in the same scenes, like but somewhere else, like even to be funny, or stuff that doesn't have to have been happening, but you could insert something funny, like while Vader's slicing up all these rebel guys, you see what's happening on the other side of the ship, or something like something. I don't know. They could do, or like on Tatooine or something after the Jawa, or like when the Jawas get killed by the stormtroopers. Maybe it's a funny interaction they could do. I mean, it wouldn't be canon if they did it with a cartoon, I would say. But, they could do something funny with it too if they wanted. Just going off what you said. If they don't want to put the effort into telling an actual story with it, with other like EU stuff, or
what's funny too is the stuff that I've seen. Besides showing like the different ships of the saga, for like one quick, we're like, oh, there's all sorts of cool ships, and explaining like the Naboo fighter and the TIE fighter and the X-wing and like the Disney X-wing and TIE fighter. If you watch like the trailer they released, it's almost exclusively original trilogy, mostly Episode 4, and I think a scene of Rogue One with Vader killing everyone at the end, and Dooku and Palpatine. I don't recall seeing anything from the new Episode 7 or 8.
No, it was all basically 6 and before. There was one scene where you have the iconic lock between Luke and Vader in front of the Palpatine while he's laughing. There was Yoda fighting Dooku, and then a lot of stuff from like in between 4 and 6. That's about it. They had nothing in the new stuff.
Yeah, I think it's pretty damning that. Sure, they could, make new shorts later on, but what they're pitching us to get us hooked is original trilogy and a spritz of prequel fight, which is like, they picked the least liked movie out of the prequel trilogy, even if the fight's kind of cool, of like the duel of Yoda and Dooku, his former pupil. Like people would rather see Maul and Obi-Wan or Obi-Wan and Anakin from Episode 3 than they would that fight. So it's just kind of weird that they would even pick that from the prequels. But the fact that they picked a prequel fight before they picked Kylo and Rey or the Praetorian Guards or anything, I think is damning.
I think it's a reaction to all the backlash that they've gotten for the last year. Now they're trying to placate us. I mean, take a look back. Clone Wars is coming back. If they're pitching this shit from, the eras that people like. This is, for me, they're in desperation mode.
Yeah, see, it's funny because like we were talking about at chat before. One of his videos, he was responding to the Shill Media article about JJ's course correction, like him saying that. It was like, what does this mean for Star Wars if he's admitting a course correction? And he's like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's going fine, this and that. It's like, well, is it? Because like from what we're seeing, they're really trying to get us on stuff we like that's not Disney saga, episodic saga stories.
I mean, hell, did you see the article that Padme is going to make an appearance?
Yeah, which is really ridiculous. I mean, what's Grandma Padme going to do?
JJ is trying to pack so much into 9. He may have to split this into 2 movies just to get it all.
I just want them to end it quickly. Oh yeah, and Jez Oldfield in the chat says, have you heard that Nick Nolte has been cast in The Mandalorian?
Yeah, I saw that today on Twitter.
Who's Nick Nolte?
14 Hours with Eddie Murphy.
Did you ever see the movie Over the Hedge from DreamWorks about the raccoon and the turtle and stuff?
Vaguely, I sort of remember that one. That one kind of forgettable.
He is the villainous bear in that movie.
But what Nick Nolte's really known for is 48 Hours with Eddie Murphy.
Oh, I know. Hey, have you seen the 2003 Hulk with Eric Bana?
Yeah.
Okay, that's Hulk's dad.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy, the old guy, though.
Crazy guy.
Crazy guy. Okay, that makes sense. Mickey Mouse Loves Marius says, Disney has a long history of stringing fans along and never really addressing their concerns while making shit tons of money anyway. This has usually worked for them for most things. Star Wars is different.
Well, the thing is, Star Wars, as much as Marvel has made, Star Wars has a legacy that Disney just can't match.
Right.
I mean, Disney's been around for a long damn time, but it's never had the landscaping changing thing that Star Wars has been.
True.
And they can't replicate it.
Yeah, which they would like.
Now they're in the process of destroying the very golden goose they want to, press forward.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. I mean, I still get where they were coming from with it, but they just did it all wrong. And they advertised it all wrong and said everything wrong and responded all wrong and just kept on digging further. It's like
correct. I mean, you know what? Ron Johnson could have directed a Star Wars movie. I probably wouldn't care if he directed a bad Star Wars movie if it'd been a standalone movie. He was the wrong guy to put in the middle of a trilogy, and he wanted to do his own thing.
What if he did Rogue One or Solo?
I would have let him go make Solo.
Oh, yeah. God, that would have been awful.
But he could have ruined Han even more than what they tried to do anyway. I mean, would you still want that? Or
the problem is that Rogue One is the best out of them all so far. You really want Ruin Johnson anywhere near it?
Well, no, but I mean...
There you go. I mean, Solo was already bad. He couldn't do much worse at that point.
It's really more his response to criticism, which is disappointing. It's like, you can make something bad, and, it sucks to have people say that it sucks, but to go, no, you're just bad because you don't like it. You're just not smart enough. It's like, that type of response is so ignorant. Like, if that's how everyone was, there would be no successful people today. They'd just be promoting shit.
Probably could have done better in Solo because he tried to put in a bunch of slapstick humor into The Last Jedi, which failed. But that kind of slapstick humor, if he'd have done it a little artistically, could have worked a little bit better in Solo. I mean, he couldn't have done any worse than freaking Ron Howard.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen enough from Rian Johnson to know what else he could do, and I don't care to see any from him anymore.
Well,
honestly,
wasn't bad. But the thing is, everybody says, "Oh, he directed some great episodes in Breaking Bad." Well, an episode director of Breaking Bad is just there to make sure everything goes right. He's really not impressing his vision really that much.
Right. He's just making sure that the overall, those episodes look fine.
Yeah.
To the overall story. Yep. Yeah, Dalton, Mortimer. How did you say that, Angus, before?
Dalton Mortimer.
Mortimer. Okay, I keep on saying to me. It just reads as Mortimer than Mortimer for some reason. But yeah. So he says they tried to willfully deconstruct and postmodern a deliberately mythic cycle.
Okay, segueing into that, that's a great segue for Lord of the Rings. And if you guys haven't heard about this, Lord of the Rings is apparently racist against orcs,
Urukai.
Urukai, and goblins because they're always portrayed as evil. All lives should matter, orcs included. And I'm just reading this going.
I thought it was because they're persons of color and the elves are white.
They're just beings, and elves and all of them are being high and mighty to each other. It's like, you people cannot use modern social constructs and all that ballet of crap to deconstruct a book that was written 100 years ago almost.
Well, and it isn't. I mean, wasn't it that the orcs and Uruk-hai wanted to slaughter the humans? I mean, it wasn't even the humans going, yeah, we want to kill you. They're like, no, we're fine. And then they're like, no, we're going to kill you.
Basically, they're trying to say they shouldn't blame all orcs, Uruk-hai, and goblins for the actions of 95% of them. It's like,
if 100% of them attack you, I mean, which one of them were going, no, orc rights, no human rights, or like, let's build our houses.
We don't want to fight. No. They're all bloodthirsty, twisted, and evil.
I thought that was the point too. They were literally spawns of evil. Like
to add to that, if they want to use that logic, then they should support the Second Amendment and the fact that not all people with guns are mass murderers.
That's a good point, man.
See, their logic just turns back on itself.
Or same with not all white people are evil too.
Yeah, it's like that meme that's been going around of like Tom and Jerry, where Tom puts his shotgun in the hole, but then it like bends up into another hole in his face.
Yeah. I love that meme.
SJW logic is completely hypocritical and is unsustainable. I mean, eventually their shit's going to implode upon itself.
Dude, it already has. Like, months ago.
Small sections keeps on blowing up here and there. Boom, ba boom, ba boom.
Well, yeah, dude. But like the entire, the entirety of it is getting ready to implode upon itself. I mean, look at Ocasio-Cortez. She's literally going to try and start a civil war within her own Democratic Party because she's sick and tired of the old-timer, rich liberal Democrats. And it's like,
what does she want? Poor liberal Democrats? It doesn't make any sense. So I don't understand what the problem is with money, and what if they made the money? I mean, I understand if it's all inherited, that can be an issue. But I mean, if you worked hard and earned your money, why are you bad?
Is that they're not far left enough? If she wants them out of the way to bring in more democratic socialists to change the country for her image.
Okay, what's socialism again? I get that confused with communism. Those are two different things, right? They're not the same thing.
Socialism is kind of like one step short of communism.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, socialism is just communism not in full effect.
In layman's terms, yeah, basically.
Like, so it's kind of all equal or not? Like, I don't what.
Socialism is basically the government should control all, and it doesn't, and it's all about. It's not about equal opportunity. It's about equality of outcome. Everybody, no matter how much you put in, no matter what, we all are equal at the end.
Equal distribution.
And it doesn't work like that, because what they don't understand is the reason why the United States is so wealthy and powerful is because anybody can succeed if they work hard enough and they're smart enough and they're quick enough.
Well, it seems like it always goes back to the syndrome line of if everyone succeeds, no one succeeds in a way too. It's like if everyone is equally important, then no one's important.
Exactly.
Yeah, it reminds me. There's some article going around that I saw on Twitter where it's like this dominatrix is turning white men into socialists, and I'm like, and everyone's loving what I reply. I said, yeah, well, she makes that capitalist cheddar because she's cornered the market on white cucks.
Yeah. Oh, I saw that as a world-class bullshitters on Facebook. But But that also segues into the fact that SJWs are outraged because Franklin is sitting in a lawn chair by himself on the other side of the table from everybody else. That Peanuts Thanksgiving is racist. I got nothing.
It's from the 50s. It's a little claymation. It's represent. I mean, or not claymation. I was thinking of the Rudolph thing. That's another one. But yeah, the Peanuts thing wasn't. I keep on hearing this from different YouTubers and Doomcock and stuff. They're saying that he was one of the advocates to have a black kid in the cartoon in the first place, and then they're like, "Oh, he's being racist because he's by himself." And when I first saw that too, I'm like, I don't see what the problem is because facing everybody and
he's facing everybody. Everybody is looking at him. He's pretty much
he's
attention.
He's a guest of honor. He's like the judge with the court looking at him.
Yeah, basically. I mean, they could have, maybe put, maybe Lucy next to him or Linus, but it really wouldn't have changed much. The fact that he's even there is a fucking shock, considering when this cartoon came out.
Yeah, apparently he did it in response to Martin Luther King. He's like, it's high time we had a black guy in a cartoon, or in my cartoon. It's weird. Okay, so like to bounce off that with Rudolph, them saying that, it's about marginalized people with the dentist elf and the Rudolph with his red nose. When I was a kid, sure, I could sort of see maybe an idea that they're gathering of like, oh, he's like the black guy or something. It's like the one ranger's like, no daughter of mine is going to be out with a red nose. And it's like, you can change that to like, no daughter of mine is going to be with a black guy. And it's like, I always saw that story, even in that context, as like, well, they overcame that prejudice and saw what worth he had for the community. So it's a good story, even if he is like a racial allegory.
I had no idea that was that could have even been a racial allegory, to be honest, because it was just a kid with if a kid had a weird nose anyway in real life, you'd be an outcast anyway if he had a
outcast overcoming the society, improving his worth. It's the underdog story. I don't understand how people could twist it and be racist.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes parents are a little harsh on their kids. It's not like a horrible thing for a kid. That's just something that would happen. It's not like you're saying anything wrong. It's just something that happens.
To even extrapolate further outside of race, talking about like others or something, you can say you like or hate the movie I Am Sam, but you could compare it to I Am Sam, where like the whole story ends up, they other him because like, oh, he's mentally challenged, he can't take care of his daughter, and then it's like, oh, well, even he can be a good dad. That's the end story. It's kind of the same kind of parallel where it's like, oh, well, he can contribute to society. Good job.
Well,
you can put any sort of other into the place of Rudolph into like a real context, and it's an uplifting story.
Yeah, well, and there's the island of misfit toys that can find you. Some people can find the good in them, and there's the big bad snow beast that they find a use for him. He doesn't have to eat people or whatever. He can just put a tree on a star on a tree, and he's good.
If anything, you would think that they would with their HuffPost angle, you think they'd be like, oh, well, this is an allegory for taking down the white man because the abominable snowman is white, and we defanged him. We took away his power or whatever. You think they would extrapolate it that way, not with Rudolph.
It's like
going back to the Lord of the Rings, the Easterlings, who are the darker skinned people, versus the Westfold, who are all a bunch of white people. I'm surprised that the SJWs haven't started screaming Gondor or Rohan are a bunch of racist KKK assholes at this point.
Well, and that the orcs or goblins literally almost made the dwarves go extinct. With Gimli's whole cave was eliminated of them, and it's like, there's other races in it, even if they're not, their skin color's the same, they're different species basically, and it's like, it seems like you could interject anything into anything and make it racist. So it's like, you could, oh, well, I feel like this represents this and that. I feel like when it just doesn't make any sense.
I'm getting sick and tired of people deconstructing based on their values of today and not deconstructing the movie based on its own fucking context.
Well, it's like they're mad that Charlie Brown and Rudolph has some things that they don't like that wouldn't work in the modern day. But it's like, you do know that America used to own slaves and eliminated a whole people that were here originally, but we can't exactly just erase that. So it's like, you know, it's stuff that happened. I understand. Well, there's no point in going, America just sucks, right? Because of what happened all those years ago. Yeah, it sucks, and now let's try to make it better now. I mean, what are you talking about? What? It seems like they're sitting down and seriously, they wake up and go, how can I be an annoying asshole today? Let's look at stuff from the past and then bitch about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, like the thing is, like, they don't even look at stuff that, you know, can actually, like, you can only really look at it one way. So like me deconstructing the rainbow fish and applying it to like the Victoria's Secret thing that's been going on, everyone outraged that, you know, they don't have fat models. If you look at the rainbow fish, there's only really one way to take that story. It's redistribution. The story is pretty fish with lots of beautiful scales, and everyone envies him for it and shuns him because he'd just rather be beautiful. And he goes to talk to an octopus, and the advice from the octopus is to, oh, well, to get everyone on your side, get rid of all your shiny scales and just have one and let everyone else have a scale. And so if you replace the fish with like say your daughter and scales with her hair that makes her beautiful, the story would be, oh, well, she has to get rid of all of her hair except for a few strands and make everyone else's equally beautiful. And it's like, there's only one real way to take that story, even if it was intended to be like, oh, sharing and, you know, etc. It's like, it's very problematic, as opposed to Rudolph is uplifting. You know, the one time I've seen a story as a kid where I'm like, oh, I see, you know, a black guy allegory in this story. It was uplifting, you know.
Well,
like
I didn't inject race into Rudolph. I just took a way of a social outcast who had something different than everybody else.
Yeah.
Overcame the society because his one special thing allowed the man in charge to do his freaking job, and suddenly he's important.
Well, which you could also say is bad too, with him going, "Oh, now I found a use for you, so now you're cool," rather than, you know, you're just nice anyway. No, now that there's a use for you, now you're accepted. But you know, that's just something else that they could have poked at. But you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, the biggest thing I would extrapolate from that, with any sort of like real world context, would be like us developing from, like, say, hunter-gatherer society, where it's like, oh, the stronger leaders and you follow, and then society becomes more complex and someone figures out, hey, if we plant seeds, we can grow crops and not have to wander the wilderness and subject ourselves to beasts killing us, you know. And so then he becomes powerful, instead of it just being based on like, oh, well, I'm in charge because I inherited it or because I'm strong. And it's like, you know, it changes the dynamic. So like, you can see it that way maybe, but yeah, they're really just outrage culture.
It's also like they make it sound like if you were to go hunting, oh, why have the big strong guy hunt? Well, okay, weakling, you want to go in front and hunt the bear, or, you know, you're gonna, it's like, can they do it? No or yes, okay. But then if the other one, if they're doing a different task, maybe the weaker one would be able to do that task. But they also act like, you know, because somebody else is better at something, that makes them bad. Which,
yeah, I know.
It's like, what's wrong with other people having a better skill at it? Like, well, you know, it's fine.
Like, you might put up on World Class Bullshitters on my own page on Facebook the other day about this guy, this story boy, the full beard and all that, going, real men don't use violence. And then there's a pair of soldiers, and the guy goes, what the fuck is she talking about?
Wait, with what?
No, it was this soy boy guy, and the caption under the soy boy says, real men don't use violence.
Oh yeah, I saw your post. Yeah. And then the Marines are like, what's she talking about? That one was funny.
Everybody in the World Class Bullshitters thought it was hilarious.
Hell yeah. Well, it is funny too. It's like, oh, real men don't do this, and it's like, well, what makes a real man then exactly? You know, I don't know. It seems like it really. Do we need more problems in the world or something for people to focus on, so that they can't keep on bringing up stuff that isn't a problem? Like, is that what we need? We need an alien invasion now to, you know, get everybody sane.
Will ever come together is an external threat. Period.
Exactly.
Well, I think we covered those topics. What about the Daredevil season 3 stuff you're talking about that is being canceled or
Yeah,
Whatnot.
off Netflix. Daredevil got canceled off of Netflix. I mean, it's still there to be watched, but there will never be another season on Netflix. And then once Punisher premieres its second season, it'll be canceled. And then Jessica Jones, when it does its third season, will also be canceled.
Well, I'm fine with Jessica Jones being canceled.
No longer going to be produced by Netflix.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said before we started, that they'll probably just stop making new seasons until they get the streaming service, which makes sense to me. I mean, as long as they keep the existing episodes up, then it'll be fine.
Well, Rookie, from an article I just read, that if they do a new Daredevil, it might be an entirely new cast.
What? Like another reboot? Are you kidding me?
No, a continuation of the story, or they take it to the big screen, but it's not. Charlie Hunnam playing, Matt Murdock. Or not Charlie Hunnam.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it might as well be. I mean, I know they've recasted people before, like War Machine and the Hulk and whatnot, but I mean, come on. Can you let the guy be an actor for it? I mean, he seems to fit the role pretty well, and then you get a new face to it, and we're supposed to believe it's the same guy. It's harder to be attached the same way, you know what I mean? Because you feel like it's not the same character.
This is going to backfire in Disney's face because they're going to try to, retool this on their streaming site. And, people that are already devoted to Netflix and like Daredevil and the MCU shows, they found it from Netflix. And so everyone knows that this is Disney pulling the plug. And so it's just going to backfire in their face, really, I think. They'll get some people that are just devoted to Marvel, and they're going to, just like Star Wars, where they're going to buy the streaming just so they can have their fix. But a lot of people are going to remember, like, oh, yeah, Disney shafted us out of more Daredevil.
Yep. But,
yeah, well, I mean, I might still get the Disney streaming service, but I don't know yet. I kind of want to see what they actually announce. Is the DC streaming service, is that officially launched, or was that just like a beta?
Tried it, and he said it was the worst $10 he ever spent. It was freaking terrible.
Wait, so they already launched it? Like it's already up? Like, I thought that was like a beta. Like, oh, here's a quick glance into what we'll have for now, and then we'll have a real library come in a year.
It's already up, and it's fucking terrible.
Oh my god, that was quick. That's really stupid. They announced that way after Disney, right? And then they tried to put theirs up really quick. Wow.
Well, Jeff Hicks,
come on, DC.
Jeff Hicks brought it up. Look at the amount of streaming services that have gone up ever since Netflix kicked in the door.
Yeah, way too many.
Yeah. Hulu, ESPN, WWE, all these streaming services, they're all cost like between, $5 and $15. I don't have enough money to spend on all that. I suspended my Hulu because I just didn't really watch it anymore. The only ones I really have are Amazon Prime and Netflix. Anything else? I said no.
It's funny. For the longest time, I've been wanting to make a streaming services video where I talk about every streaming service and like how it's all started and how many they are. And one of my main parallels was going to be the more that they keep on trying to make. If they make a Sony one, they make a Fox one, they make a Disney one, they make a DC one, they make a Bloobie Blobby one. I mean, it'll be just like with cable, where people were getting fed up of paying for cable, like over $100 for cable every month. And now if there's like 50 streaming services, and you still get a lot more content, I suppose, when you want, but it's like nobody really wants to have to pay so much, especially if there's only like one or two shows on one of those streaming services that you want. Sometimes I wish they could just kind of bundle them up together, like, a Disney, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon package for, $20 a month or something.
Well, the thing is, Disney outright owns Hulu.
Disney owns Hulu?
I don't understand why they're trying to do a goddamn Disney streaming service when you own fucking Hulu.
Disney owns Hulu?
They own 66% now because of the Fox buyout.
Yeah, they basically own majority stock in Hulu.
Who else owns? Who has the other 44%?
It's split up. I don't know off the top of my
Universal, maybe?
Universal and a couple other people. It's kind of split, but Disney owns the stock majority, especially with the merger. And what I don't understand is that why would you launch a Disney streaming server when you already have a streaming service that's perfectly capable of running all your stuff? Just dump it there.
Just relabel it.
Yeah,
It's
that'd be
like
smarter.
Spectrum was Time Warner. Like, just relabel it. I don't see why they have
People
to
don't have to
roll
make
out their
new
own.
accounts.
Call it just the Hulu Disney streaming service. There you go. Dump all your stuff in the special Disney section, and people will pay for it. I would probably, you know.
Mickey Mouse loves Maria says people are going to go back to pirating everything. Pretty much.
If you want to, but a piece of good news, especially if you're an anime watcher. Guess who just got the rights to Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is considered one of the landmark animes of all time?
I have no idea.
Netflix.
Oh.
Netflix is going to start streaming Neon Genesis Evangelion. If you're an anime fan of any kind, check it out.
Speaking of anime, though, there's also the Crunchyroll and Funimation, which are $6 and $7 a month also.
Crunchyroll is just fucking god-awful. I got rid of it because you play it for a while and then it just completely freezes out.
Well, if you have an account, it will play the videos better, but it's still like a slow-moving, weird site. And I only watched it because it had Dragon Ball Super on it, and that was it, basically.
I mean, I had about 60 different animes I wanted to watch, and I couldn't even functionally watch them for more than about 15 minutes at a time before Crunchyroll just go to shit. I got sick and tired.
Well, it's the traffic on the site too. They don't, for some reason, they don't have it set up to be able to handle it or anything. Because whenever there's any uplift of traffic to the site, it really just like crashes and just slows down, and it's ridiculous.
Crunchyroll is just not built to handle large volume like that.
No. Adam Shahan says you should do a streaming service, or you should do a streaming service stream, man. Yeah, I might do something like that one of these days. I thought I read that and I thought he said you should make a streaming service, and I'm like, yeah, that's technically what we've been doing anyway. As far as
what's going to happen. You know what's happening is like the idea of streaming is like this asteroid, so it's hitting the Earth and it's doing like a tidal wave. You know, all the water's receding from the spot, but it's just going to come rushing back, and it's just going to reinvent cable. It might be split across a couple things, and you're just going to end up having sort of like Dish DirecTV again. There's going to be 2 or 3 big names that own everything and are just trying to compete for the same market.
Yeah.
Switching gears, though, that's something that may be a very big water break on that is the EU's Articles 11 and 13.
Well, I was gonna address a few chats first before we move on, because people are still on that a little bit in here. So, what they say, Adam Shahan said Disney owns 60% of Hulu, 66% of Hulu. Caitlin, the Keeper of the Jeremys, is here. Star Wars for Life is here. Laura's A Short Story is here. Adam Shahan, Lone Wolf Cub, Alex Lathis. Hallmark Channel Jeremy was here for a little bit. I assume Darth Tico's still listening in, but not chit-chatting. The Mickey Mouse loves Marius, Jez Oldfield, our crew, some of our main people lately. And what they say, Lone Wolf Cub says, have you seen Moist Jeremy?
I've heard of him. I haven't seen him yet.
I don't know. I haven't seen him around yet. And what was that?
Like, I haven't been keeping up really with Geeks and Gamers and all that because I've just been so freaking busy.
Yep. I hear you. Well, that was pretty much all the comments on that.
How many are watching?
15. It's been going up and down between 12 and like 17.
Nice.
Yep. So, what are you going to switch the topic to, man, for the Article 13?
Yeah. This is something funny because Ivan actually put something up because YouTube's been kind of pressing, hey, you guys are going to start losing a lot of viewers, especially in Europe, because of copyright and the link tax, which is, I think, Article 11.
How would we lose viewers for copyright if the people in Europe are just watching?
Like let's take Jeremy at Geeks and Gamers, and he puts up a copyright image in his one of his videos of Battlefield 5 or something from EA or something that isn't directly his, that he created from the get-go. You won't be able to view it in Europe when Directive 13 goes through.
Oh, so it won't even. So people in Europe won't even be able to watch something that somebody else is using. I thought it was that people in Europe won't be able to post it themselves. I thought that was the rule.
Well, Well, not only that, but like there's also a link tax. Like let's say you have something that like let's say you link to someone else's like news article. You have to pay a tax to use it. But if we do it, we not directly are not going to be able to have to pay for it. YouTube is. And it's going to cost them billions.
What?
So pretty much anything that, like, let's say, you know, you like I do a video and I link to a CNN article, no one in Europe's going to be able to see it because YouTube doesn't want to pay for the link tax.
Damn. Well, I mean, that's still assuming that Article 13 will happen. Is it a sure thing yet, or is it a?
It's going up for its final vote, but it looks like it's going to comfortably pass.
So, like, what month are we looking into where that will be decided?
February, and that's also Article 11 too. But that's not the main point. The funny point is people like Jeremy, Ivan, and all these other people are now starting to pick it up. I was reporting on this in videos like 3 or 4 months before they even started.
Yeah, I remember you were, and the lone when we had the Lone Wolf Cub and Alex Lathis on here for the first time, that was one of the main topics we were talking about because they're in that area.
Was starting to sound the alarm, and so is YouTube. Guys like me, Joseph Paul Watson, Jeff Cullen of Computing Forever, Razor Fist. We were all already talking about it. Like, hey, you all need to wake the hell up and start paying attention to this because this doesn't just affect Europe; it affects everybody.
Yeah, maybe more people should be listening to the wolf that's howling into the ether. You know, if it's not about Star Wars, they should still listen up. Is what I'm.
The thing is,
good point.
If people want to get this content, well, I can tell you one thing: if Directive 11 and 13 do go through, expect the VPN networks to go absolutely crazy.
The VPN?
What's that?
My wife's calling. I'll be right back.
Okay. Caitlin, the keeper Jeremy says, I think she's referring to the moist Jeremy, who was saying, I bet he doesn't like sand because it's coarse, rough, irritating, and it gets all over the place. And then, what was that? They're saying more about the dry Jeremy. Yeah, and then some people are commenting about this. Lone Wolf Cub sand is the worst, but TLJ is even worster. Yep. All right.
Oh, yeah.
And they're talking about VPN. What's VPN?
I have no idea. I was waiting to hear him clarify that.
He's saying it here. VPN is something. So Mickey Mouse Loves Mariah says VPN is something that hides where your IP address is coming from.
Oh.
Though originally it was something businesses used for secure connections. Okay.
Yeah, I saw something. It might have been on like Turd Flinging Monkey or some weird type of stream channel or an ad for them. They were talking about that where it's like, oh, if you're here and it's something you want to watch is blocked, you can use this to like front like you're living in California or wherever that is allowed to view it. So say you're in Europe and like say you're in France and my video of Spider-Man has French band Gojira music, it's blocked in France. You'd be able to watch it pretending you're in another country.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Alex and Laura, it's a short story, was saying it's a virtual private network, basically. That's what VPN is what they're saying. Virtual private network.
The thing I'm concerned with, I guess, not really understanding fully what's going on with this Article 13. I know it's like a censorship bill. I don't really see why people would want it. But it makes me worry, you know, like me, I just made a video and I linked an article from the Washington Post that was topical for the video. And it's like, well, if someone watches it, say in Europe, is it like, am I getting taxed or like I owe like a European fee even though I'm American? Like, is this like some international law type of stuff going on? You know, it's really weird. It's very interesting.
Yep. Very interesting indeed. And what are they saying?
Okay, guys, I'm back. I'm sorry. Wife needed some help unloading the car.
It's all good. Doing some groceries?
Yeah. Well, she went to Goodwill and she just went and bought some stuff. But for $1.50, she got me a really good map of Lord of the Rings of Middle Earth.
Oh, nice.
But it's huge. It's probably good, I don't know, 18 by like 36 or 40. It's a pretty big damn poster.
Yeah.
And it's on like poster board too.
Yeah, I always try to tell people to, go thrift shopping as much as possible. Goodwill and Salvation Army also, support good causes, but you can find a lot of cool random stuff for cheap if, you hunt for it.
Oh, well, she also found apparently a poster of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and she was like, so which one's your favorite? It's like, well, Last Crusade's my favorite. I brought that home. She didn't think I was going to like the Raiders poster. It's like, I'd enjoy the Raiders poster. I enjoy the franchise. The only one I really don't like is 4.
Yep. Just 1 second. Sorry, I'm multitasking while I'm talking here.
Yeah. But no, you were asking about VPN. It's virtual private networks. Basically, there are certain services that if you pay a monthly subscription, it basically blocks you from your own ISP and allows you to basically virtually tunnel anything you want. Like, it protects your information. It makes it really hard for people to hack you. I mean, it's like an extra level of security, but like I said, also protects you from your ISP and EU directives, because you can VPN to a United States ISP and IP address, and then watch and view whatever the hell you want. There's nothing that you can do about it.
Right. Yeah, which would suck big time. I mean, I don't think it'll happen. I think it's a big issue if it does happen, but I have doubts that it'll happen.
It's passed its last 3 votes, and it's passed by a comfortable majority. It's probably going to happen.
When you say passed, you mean that it's going to happen, or you passed by you mean it's forgotten now?
No, there is one more vote to try and defeat it, but the last 2 or 3 times it's been voted on to continue forward, it's passed comfortably. And this is this is a really big issue.
That's not good.
Hey, Wolf, you follow this stuff a lot, this Article 13 stuff. Why does the European government want this?
Control. That's just like Macron, Merkel are trying to push for a European. They're basically trying to dissolve the entire sovereignty of every country in Europe and consolidate into one continent of Europe. They're basically trying to get rid of national borders in Europe, turn into one country.
Okay. So how does this tie in with, say, Brexit? What's going on with Brexit?
Well, there's a fun one for you. Theresa May, the Prime Minister of England. She's a globalist like Merkel and Macron. She is basically trying to sabotage Brexit. And then once she sabotaged, she do another referendum vote to stay in the European Union. Basically, the European Union is trying to turn United Kingdom into a whipping boy since they had the Brexit vote. Because the Brexit deal that Theresa May's trying to work out is so terrible. It's not even funny. Basically, the Brexit deal was they're technically out of the EU. So basically, they have no voice at the table anymore, but they still comply with all EU directives. They still have to comply with all EU laws, all the money, all that fun stuff. The EU can basically tell them what to do, and at this point, the UK would have no representation at the table. That's how bad their prime minister is screwing them over.
Okay, so is a country like Poland, are they still part of the EU?
Technically, right now, yes, because they haven't completely withdrawn. But the thing is, with Poland, they economically want to be in the European Union, but they do not want to surrender their sovereignty. At this point, I would not be shocked to watch Poland if Brussels tries to push the point, because that's where the EU is headquartered, to basically say, well, fuck you, we're out of the EU. Bye. Take your shit and get out.
Yeah, just the way this is developing, I'm wondering if there's enough opposition for a legitimate war to start in Europe.
At this moment, no, but if Brussels pushes the point, it could brew. Because right now, a lot of the old Warsaw Eastern European bloc countries are basically telling Brussels to go screw itself on the directives on mass migration. And Italy's joined in. Greece is kind of halfway in, halfway out. They don't want the migration bullshit, but they still need to be bailed out because their economy is still recovering after it collapsed 3 years ago.
Yeah, there's. I should look up more on this stuff, honestly, because I am way out of the loop on a lot of that.
But yeah, but directives 11 and 13, they're even worse than when the United States dropped net neutrality.
Damn.
They are far.
That's crazy for it to be worse.
Oh, it'll destroy it. It is one step shy from all the censoring they do in China.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm just, I'm excuse me. I'm thinking of like the implications of this stuff going through with like our European brethren, and like relations with us being able to talk.
Emmanuel Macron, he's the president of France. He's basically angling for the EU to enter a Cold War with the United States and Russia at the same time. He's basically jockeying for, to put Europe on the same footing as the United States and basically saying, we don't need you anymore, get out. And now we're basically your enemy.
It just seems very isolated.
But as far as going to a full-blown war, especially with us, EU doesn't want to do it at this point. Not until they actually get their national army, but even then, I doubt it. Basically, the European Union want to self-determine, but at the same time, all these globalists who want to self-determine, they basically want to tell all the countries inside of Europe, you're not going to self-determine anymore. We're going to determine for you, and then we're going to determine for the Europe as a whole. And countries like Romania, Hungary, Czech Republic, Italy, Poland, Austria are basically going, no.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Just hearing these minor, these few details, it doesn't make sense given, where Europe was, say, 1940 to 1989 or so with the USSR and the Nazi regime beforehand. It just seems very odd that's why the UN was built, I thought, in the EU afterward. It seemed to be kind of, I always understood to be something to kind of fight against that.
The EU basically started out as kind of an economic thing, and then it just rolled out of control.
Yep. Tim Chris in the chat says, I've seen a ton of Alex Jones vids on the European Union. The Obama administration started NAFTA and GAF that was supposed to spark a Western continental union here, and the plan was that once.
Oh, yeah. Basically, what you guys don't understand, Obama, Clinton, Pelosi, Maxine Waters, basically all the people on the left and going far left, they're all globalists. Now, the extreme left aren't really globalists. They're just pawns of the globalists. But like Soros, Marcon, Theresa May, Angela Merkel, the leaders that are pushing the European Union to become one huge solid nation are globalists. But the thing is, they want the world to be one world nation, but they want to create basically a closed oligarchy where they control all the power and we're all serfs. It's almost like moving forward in a future of one world, which I eventually think will happen. But the way it happens is like backstepping an entire millennia back to the age of, the aristocratic feudal lords who are rich and everybody else is dirt fucking poor, and they want it that way.
Yeah, like tying this into entertainment, I see this just seems reminiscent of, from what I understand, China. Google has no presence in China. China has their own state-sponsored Google, and so they control what their people are able to see and discover. They're slowly sort of like pseudo-westernizing and allowing more entertainment and whatnot because the people are becoming restless. It just seems very isolationist, like China. And I just wonder how this is going to work for, like, say, Hollywood and movies that are international hits and stuff, and how that might affect like Disney. I think
Disney's trying to crack open that pie, but look what happened with both Last Jedi and Solo. They barely lasted the week before China kicked them out of the theaters, and their returns were so terrible, it cost them more to try and run their movies in China than to just leave that China market alone. But on the flip side, Marvel movies tend to do really good in China.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing with trying to say Last Jedi, I don't know why they would think their casting choices would work with, you know, the Chinese people, as far as I know, don't feel very favorably of black people, and they don't like Vietnamese, as far as I know, too, as like, you know, a national ideal. And they have the black guy getting this sort of triangle with like the white lead, and then have, you know, that kiss with the Vietnamese, and it's like, who are you marketing to if you're trying to get into China? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, not only that, they couldn't even have Rose and Finn become a thing, and they still would have hated it. They said that was just a cherry on the top of the shit cake.
Yep. Hey, Alex. Yeah, I thought I'd bring.
Oh, yeah, Alex Lace in here.
Yeah, I thought I'd bring him in here since he's from that area and is pretty educated on that stuff. It seems, as he was commenting quite a bit in the chat on that. You're muted, man. Your microphone's muted if you're trying to talk. There you go. Oh, now it's back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, I missed the last bit of the chat because I was trying to get this bloody phone to work. Also, it's not sending bloody notifications. You've invited me 3 times, it tells me, after I go into Hangouts.
Oh, of course. That's weird, because on ours it comes in like a phone call. Like it just interrupts and comes on in.
Yeah. So, yeah. What were we talking about? The EU?
Yeah, a little bit.
Alex, let me ask you this. Was I very far off in what I was saying?
Yeah, well, a bit. I mean, oh, God.
Well, the thing is, I'm getting it through
Where do I
second
start?
to begin with. I'm not really boots on the ground. I mean, last time I was in England was 2008.
I mean, the EU was in radical need of reform on many levels, mostly democratic accountability, because there is no real direct accountability to those people in charge. Yes, we elect MEPs. Then there's the European Council above them. They aren't, you know, they're not elected. They're appointed by the states. So it's indirectly democratically accountable. There's a lot of problems, and there were all sorts of things coming down the line that I was protesting against, you know, being in the EU, but protesting against things that were being proposed, like TTIP, for example, or TTP, as it might have been. You might be more familiar hear about it.
I've kind of heard of TTP, but I don't understand it entirely.
Well, the main thing that is worrying about it was this basically setting up these hidden private courts where companies could sue states if states enacted legislation that impacted their profits. So they could basically sue states to not make legislation that was hurting their company. This dodgy, you know, this bad, yeah?
Oh, that's terrible. That's a dystopia right there.
Exactly. So that I was doing a lot of campaigning. This is before the Brexit vote happened, to try and stop this. And the one good thing that Trump has done, and I know it's by accident, but he actually derailed TTIP. He's like, oh, well done. Slow hand clap, but you did it. And now apparently he's trying to undo that one accidental good thing you did. He wants to bring TTIP back. So, oh, fucking hell, can't you just do one thing right? Or do the wrong thing right, but keep it.
Especially because I've been kind of loosely following British politics, and how Theresa May is like literally just trying to sabotage Brexit. Or
good. I mean, it's a fucking mess. I mean, Jesus Christ. Okay, things like the summary of what I typed. Basically, there's no scenario of Brexit where we'll be better off with Brexit. Every single one will cause damage to the economy. In fact, it's already started to cause some damage to the economy. And there's no situation where we come out where we're not going to be worse off. I mean, even if we have the Norway shite version, which they seem to be going for, even if we had a pure Norway-style deal without the crappy aspects, it would still, by definition, be worse off because we'd have all the EU regulations, which are not necessarily bad, but we'd have no say or control. So we didn't have the freedom of movement. Great, all of that, but no actual say in it. And every other is worse than that.
It's basically Brexit in name only, but then you end up like a serf to the freaking EU.
Yeah. So it's better to be in, so you can actually affect change, and have, you know, a vote and a say. And everyone where we're out, every scenario we're out, the government's own reports say, well, yeah, they'll all actually end up with us being worse off, and we'll not be able to trade easily. And no, of course, we're not going to have the automatic trading deals set up. In fact, we can't even negotiate trading deals properly until we're out. It's a complete shit show, and it should never have happened. And you know, the only reason this vote happened was because David Cameron, you may remember him, he was our prime minister for a bit before he caused this shit show and then resigned. He only did it to try and solve splits in his own party, the Tory party, the ones that are currently in power.
So, I mean, like I was
failed.
talking about the economic crisis in Greece, and basically it was the UK and Germany that bailed you out. And I remember watching, U.S. dollar versus the pound, because it's usually around $2 American to a pound.
Yeah,
it dropped almost to like $1.35 at one point.
Yep. I mean, our pound has tanked. Nobody's doing this. If I'd known that our populace was so dumb, no, that's very unfair. No, fuck it, they're stupid. If I'd known they were going to vote the way they did, I would have moved my meager savings, such as they were, because I was a freaking PhD student at the time. I didn't have savings to speak of, but I would have moved what I had into the dollar or the euro if I'd known they actually were going to vote to leave. And that's, of course, there were wealthy businessmen in this country who were saying, look, if you vote to leave, I'm going to make a shitload of money, and you will be poor because I'm going to move my money outside into another currency until after this has gone through, and I will make a shitload if you vote out. And they did. And they warned exactly what would happen, and people still voted for it to leave.
Is that when you guys voted to go out, you had this referendum, you had this back and forth. If you're going to vote to go out, hard break, call it a day. Just you're out, gone.
Yeah, that sounds delightful. You know what the consequences of that would be.
Wait, so why isn't Britain using the euro?
Not be able to trade. We'd not be able to shift any of the stuff that's manufactured in this country. We would not be able to put the EU safety stamps on it, and therefore it wouldn't be allowed into all the current trading partners. Some of the trading partners we have. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this though. At the rate the EU is going right now, do you see any way that the EU survives as it currently is in, say, 10 years? Because the way I'm looking at it, the EU is about to drive itself either into a civil war or fall apart and maybe fall back to an economic alliance.
I don't know. I'll race you to it. I mean, I think the US is is getting pretty fractious at the moment as well. I mean, I wouldn't feel too safe there either. Huh?
We were not going to argue that, as my wife said. But the thing is, though, look at the Eastern European bloc, basically about to give the big middle finger to the EU and go, so what if you sanction us? We don't care. I mean, look,
the thing is, the EU is a hindrance to trade more than it is a help to trade, because, for example, Britain right now, is lining up to trade with all sorts of other countries and other trading blocs. I mean, Australia, New Zealand, the US.
And have you seen how well those negotiations are going?
Well, yeah, because May is a fucking shyster and she's a Remainer who traded her loyalties to the establishment and decided, I'm going to pretend to be a Brexiteer for all of 5 minutes to get in the negotiating position and then still act like a Remainer when all is said and done.
Yeah, but there's other problems as well. Like, the UK doesn't have any industry left because we've had essentially since 1979 nothing but a Conservative/Tory government. Yeah, I know we had New Labour, but basically that was the Tories in sheep's clothing. They have completely destroyed any industry except for very light industry in this country, and the entire country is skewed to London. London and its financial business is the only thing that keeps this country from tanking entirely. Well, and that's going to go. We're going to lose a lot. Well, actually, no, there's two things that will happen. We'll lose our current ability to trade financially within the EU, and the only way they'll get around it is by basically making this into the biggest tax haven on the planet. I mean, forget Bermuda, forget the Seychelles. This will be the largest Banana Republic island tax haven you'll ever see. That's the only way the country will stagger on, until everyone gets so pissed off at it that they put in that they start putting up financial sanctions against the UK.
Well, the thing is, how close are you guys to doing a general election? Because the last polls that I saw for Theresa May, she wasn't looking better than about 20%. In fact, I saw one poll that had her like 10 or 11%.
Yeah.
If there was a general election tomorrow, she'd lose the premiership in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that honestly, you guys are missing Thatcher at this point, which is
no, no. We have an equally stupid Thatcher. I'm just slightly less well spoken, I suppose.
Well, the problem is that your next biggest party is the Labour Party. Because I can't remember the name, the guy's name.
Corbyn.
But
Corbyn was attempting to be honest, I thought, until recently, where he completely slid into the standard politicians avoiding answering questions.
Because if he actually answered what he wants, people would laugh at him and defrock him, which he deserves. So.
Well, no, I think it looks like he really does want us to leave the EU as well. So it's
well, the thing is, like the leader of the Labour Party, if he gets the premiership, he's looking to make, England, make Venezuela look like a bunch of pussies when it comes to socialism.
Well, I mean, come on.
Honestly, I think you guys need to put Mog and
right. You've only ever had
you guys need to put Mog and
Mog, that upper class twit who's so inbred, his brains are dribbling out through his nose.
He's a proper British statesman, though, and
he's a moron. That's because he dresses like, I don't know, some idiot out of a Jeeves and Wooster novel. Does not mean he has any intelligence. He's a moron. He's an inbred twat.
Alex, if you
they all are,
American politics, look who we just elected.
They don't have to be
Congressional with Ocasio-Cortez. He makes the Mog look highly intelligent.
All right, guys. So let's wrap up this talk. It's been going on for like 20 minutes.
Rookie's just been silent.
If you want to say anything last minute on that, that's fine. And then I wanted to shift over to Star Wars again. We got Dalton in here. A while ago he was saying he had a lot to say about Star Wars. So I don't always invite people in when we're in the middle of a stream, but sometimes I might feel like inviting somebody in the chat. So how's it going, Dalton?
I'm doing pretty well. My main thing about Star Wars is the whole thing that's going on with Star Wars is the quintessential postmodernism run amok issue, and
that's the understatement of the year, Dalton.
Well, yes, but that was my opening statement. Let me actually get into it, because of course, as we all know, Star Wars, more than probably any franchise in the current set of franchises, is founded in Jungian and Campbellian hero narratives and like the traditional hero's journey archetype. So what better story for a bunch of anti-meritocracy SJWs to go in and prove, quote unquote, everything is a social construct by devaluing the shit out of it. That's one of the reasons I'm not willing to entirely chalk it up to Disney's corporatism or sheer incompetence, because you find that with a lot of these Hollywood artistic types, there's this whole ideology of it's the greater good. We're just showing everyone that everything is a social construct. Therefore, we can be whatever we want to be. It's the fucking
down even better. Kathleen Kennedy wearing a T-shirt that says "The Force is female." You guys say more.
I blame Locke.
The unholy alliance between feminism and postmodernism is just insufferable. But let's not even start to get into that.
Hold on, guys. So what I was going to get into, I was going to bring up something that came up recently, was the Star Wars recasting. About the original trilogy. They have like a young Luke, a young Leia. Angus, since we haven't heard from you in a little bit, have you heard about any of that?
Well, I saw the thing about JJ had recast Luke for the Vision of Rey with Luke versus Vader. They're actually, I guess, going to film them and have a younger body in the role of Luke. maybe if they filmed it kind of like maybe murky or not like focused so much, it might have worked. Where it's like, oh, it's like Luke, but in Vader fight, but like she's like kind of walking through it. And you're not focused on them. That could have worked as like stand-ins. But yeah,
My
it's very
phone's
problematic.
died. Sorry, guys.
Was that?
It's very.
My phone's dying. I'm about to lose you. Bye.
Yeah.
Okay, see you, man. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, it's very problematic in I think telling that they're at least I don't know, testing the water about recasting. The thing with Solo is it's a young Solo story, so it's like a prequel. So it's kind of like they have the excuse of like, well, Ewan McGregor was recast, and they recast Anakin, etc. Younger bodies to represent them. I don't know. It's kind of a gray area as far as like a precedent, but I don't know. Like it's funny because it just keeps happening. We keep talking about where it's like the whole message of The Last Jedi is a real fuck you to the original fans, and it's like, oh, quit holding on to your preconceived notions of what Star Wars is. You just need to fall in line or go away because you have the past mindset.
You believe that merit exists? How naive! How inconceivably naive! We have to burn everything down to prove that merit doesn't exist and everything is a social construct.
But to go off real quick, what Dalton said initially, talking about postmodernism, whatever. I'll take it a step further with like the Jungian and Campbellian archetypes and all that. Yes, that's there. But to dumb it down even simpler, I think, in a way, there's a problem of Star Wars. I talked about this in one of my first videos, is that I'll give credit to The Last Jedi as far as trying to reinvent Star Wars, but you really can't because Star Wars is in a box. That box is using the Force and like the Jedi and the Sith and all this is kind of like Taoism, Eastern philosophy ideas, but it's kind of contained within this Judeo-Christian idea of good and evil and like a grand fight, even if it goes on forever like a Taoist idea. It's contained in that, so it's always revolving. You defeat the Sith, something else rises. The Jedi die out, something rises from that. And that's really the biggest message I get from like Snoke and Rey, where it's like I don't get what people are looking forward to because they've just shown their hand, where it's like this is never ending. Snoke's whole idea,
and the sad thing is you could actually do a relatively satisfying, not necessarily ending, but conclusion if you take it back to before The Last Jedi, when they were talking about in the trailers how the Jedi must end. Me being optimistic, the way I took that was the Jedi as in the dogmatic adherence to the light side of the light stroke clear side of the Force must end, and they need to return to the original ways of the Jedi, which in the expanded universe, if anyone doesn't know, were the wielders of the Force who wielded both sides of it evenly. And then what you could have had is instead of having Snoke be an ancient Sith, I still think he's probably either Darth Andita or Marco Ragnos, but that's neither here nor there. Instead of having him be an ancient Sith, you could have him be a dark Jedi, and instead of having the Jedi versus the Sith, what you could have had is the gray Jedi versus the dark Jedi. That would have been interesting. Because
one point I was gonna add before I finished was with Snoke, they show their hands about like what I would say is the pointlessness now of Star Wars. The way they set it up is Snoke talks about darkness rises and light to meet it. So he's pretty much surmising that Rey is like midichlorians, like Anakin, but it's not meddled with. It's just the Force makes a counterbalance, and it's like, if that's the point, why would you kill Rey? Because someone else is going to take her place, and if you die, someone will take your place. So it's just never-ending balancing act. So what's the point now?
Sounds like the Avatar from the last Airbender. Every time you kill it, it gets reborn.
Well, it's not even necessarily that, because that has more Eastern influences. This boils down to almost kind of like a Sisyphus. As soon as you think you have the boulder at the top of the mountain, the boulder's just going to tumble back down the mountain again, and you're going to have to start right from scratch.
Well, the thing is, guys, if you ever looked at the EU from all the way back from when the Jedi had their first split till, hell, Aboleth, that series, it was always back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's just the way of the Force.
Well, yeah, but that's what I was saying. If they had meaningfully tweaked it so that it was gray Jedi versus dark Jedi, that would have meant a meaningful shift. Because what is the thing that everyone and their mother at some point comes to the conclusion of Star Wars is the Jedi and the Sith are both kind of morons. Because one is so dogmatically insistent on like Jesuit style purity, and the other is so caked in their hedonism that they forget that positive emotions exist. So what the proper solution would be is take two people who have two sides that have a slightly more balanced view, like the gray Jedi versus the dark Jedi, and have them duke it out and be the engine of the narrative from then on. Because then you would have the stupid puritanism of both sides being gone and people actually having a meaningful philosophical discussion over who is right. Is it the gray Jedi or is it the dark Jedi? Because we both know the Jedi and Sith are wrong because they're dogmatic to the extreme.
Well, the thing is, I don't like your premise that Snoke is a dark Jedi. Actually, what I think Snoke is, and it kind of goes into the EU of what Palpatine had done, because he had his Inquisitors, but he also had his dark side disciples. I think Snoke is one of Sidious's disciples that survived.
I always thought that he was either Darth Andudu or Mark Aragnos, who had survived in the unknown region.
Close. But they are long dead.
Well, Dark Tico in the chat says, if Rey gets pregnant from the Force, doesn't that make the Force male? and also, the Moist is here. Brandon Moist.
The Moist!
It's joined.
Hello.
What does your wife think when you shout the Moist, Wolf? Just kidding.
Please stop that, baby.
All right, so that was some pretty good points there. Laura, it's a short story, wanted to ask us how they think that they'll end the cluster in episode 9. Dalton, what do you think?
It's gonna be, honestly, at this point, considering J.J. Abrams, it's going to be a rehash of the Return of the Jedi, just a little bit glitzied up and more boom.
If they're smart, what they'll do is they'll introduce some of the more like upscale metaphysics from like the alternate universe, because like one of the smart things they did in Rebels, one of the very few smart things, is they introduced like a temporal nexus. So my thinking is Snoke is going to use some Sith magic to essentially make himself the Sith equivalent of a Force Ghost. Not a Force Ghost, because Sith can't do a true Force Ghost, but a Sith equivalent of a Force Ghost. And through manipulating that temporal nexus, he's going to fuck with some things, and then it's going to scale things up past the usual Sith and Jedi dicking around thing and move to more, we have to maintain the cosmic balance, which would tie back into kind of the Eastern mysticism things that the Force is founded on in Star Wars.
But Dalton, you're assuming one thing.
No, I know. I said if they're smart, that's what they'll do. That's my best case scenario for what they'll do. More than likely, they're just going to piss all over everything and say, fuck you, because retcon, but I had to give them some benefit of the doubt before I...
See, I think that's the problem, though, of viewing the Jedi as just purely a dogmatic half of a coin or something, because you have the Force Ghost, so you have like you've seen it with Luke Skywalker and stuff. You've seen the people you associate with, people who are Jedi, they receive a sort of heaven, if you will, some sort.
Here's the problem with that, though, in terms of where you're going with it. If that had been an ancient Jedi Force power, like it was originally assumed to be in the original trilogy, then you would have a point. But the fact that it was just recently discovered by Qui-Gon and Yoda and Anakin, apparently.
Anakin.
Well, yeah, but they retconned it in. But regardless,
yeah,
the fact that it's a newly discovered or rediscovered Force power, and B, the fact that people like Mother Talzin can do something similar, suggests
I
to
love
me
Talzin.
yeah, Mother Talzin is probably my favorite expanded universe character. For me, in terms of my favorite characters, it goes Master Yoda, Palpatine, and then Mother Talzin as far as favorite characters go. But yeah, the fact that the Night Sisters and their magics can do something similar to a Force Ghost, not exactly the same, but something similar, and the fact that in the expanded universe you had not the same once again, but something similar with things like essence transfer, suggests to me that it's more about mastery than it is about one side being more quote unquote right than the other.
Yeah, exactly.
They're two sides of the same
That's
coin.
just when you talked about Mother Talzin and the Night Sisters and like essentially the like dark side witchcraft. Like that's the type of stuff I want to see. You know,
Yes,
you had a
my
glimpse
God,
of it
yeah.
with like light side with you know, someone who's not a Jedi but a devotee of the Force with Chirrut in Rogue One, and then you have Mother Talzin, and it's like, dude, go into some of these other factions of the Force instead of just this bifurcated view, because it resembles they're making it resemble more like religions, where it's like, yeah, you know, you got Hinduism and Jainism and Buddhism, they're all similar, but they're kind of have different threads of thought.
They're all founded on truth and all founded on similar principles, but they're fractions of a larger truth.
Well, guys, well, look at the EU, for example. Look how many Force disciplines they had. If you look at Knights of the Old Republic 2, they had the Jiao Shi, the Ziana Shah, the Bodaran Sages, the Force Sorcerers of Tund.
Yeah, the Sorcerers
of Tund. Yeah. There were multiple disciplines in the EU, and that was one of the things that boggled my mind, because now they're just shoehorning it down to just the Sith and the Jedi. And then we also had the Night Sisters because of the Clone Wars. Thank you, Dave Filoni. But it's like,
don't you crap on the Night Sisters. The Night Sisters are glorious, and I love them. So,
I'm not crapping on them. They're a great addition, but there should have been more. Like the Bodaran Sages, like the one Eldor Jedi Master. It was never spoken of, but in the EU, he was a Bodaran Sage before he became a Jedi.
Yeah, the essence of what I want in future is for them to just lean into the mysticism. And maybe this is just my bias because I'm actually an occultist and have studied this kind of shit for 12 years now at this point. But because Star Wars does such a good job of incorporating so many different esoteric philosophies, fucker lean into that is all I'm saying. Like, I want some mysticism in this shit.
Well, Dalton, if you ever look at what George Lucas had in store for 7, if he'd have done it, he was going to do exactly that.
Yeah, I know. And, you know, alas, but Darth Disney and all that jazz. But,
I mean, one of the
actually, you know what? Fuck you. You don't get a Darth designation, Disney. Fuck off.
Well, Dalton, one of the greatest Clone Wars episodes that I don't think gets enough praise is when Dave Filoni had Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan end up on basically that Force planet that had those 3 Force gods.
Yeah, the fucking angels and
it's Mortis.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Force wielders that were the father, son, daughter, and presumably Aboleth shortly after that.
Yeah, and that was just an amazing look at the Force itself. I wish Clone Wars could have done more with that.
Yeah, and I also like the idea that the Force isn't necessarily equally distributed and does have nexus points, because that, you know, that ties into, once again, concepts like ley lines and shit, where yes, magic is universal, but it's not necessarily equally distributed.
Oh, but not only that, but one of the great things, the guy that was the Dark Side Son, did you know who voiced him? He also voiced Starkiller in both Force Unleashed games.
Yes, I know. God damn it.
Hell yeah.
And Darth Maul.
Yep.
I am glad that they brought Darth Maul back. That is one good thing that came out of the whole.
I was still iffy on that, but
silence.
But if we're gonna go into things in Clone Wars that drove me stark raving mad, was the new Mandalorian. I couldn't stand it.
Why?
That's not Mandalorian culture.
and also, more importantly, why the fuck can Darth Maul just wield the dark saber like it's nothing? That is supposed to be like specially designed for like Mandalorian, essentially blood magic.
Well, Mandalorian Jedi, but the thing is that like I'm gonna jump gears just for a quick second, but everybody's having a freak out, if in the Mandalorian, like the character that we see on screen is a woman, and I'm like, I honestly don't care because there's a saying in Mandalorians: train your sons to be stronger. Train your sons to be strong. Train your daughters to be even stronger. The Mandalorians are all inclusive. They don't give a crap about what's between your legs. They care about.
Are you capable as a warrior / as a strategist / as whatever we need as the plot calls for it?
Yeah, basically. I mean, you said
cult.
your favorite EU characters were Yoda and all them. You know who my favorite EU characters are? Delta Squad, Omega Squad, Cal Scarada, Wayland Val. Basically, the Clone Commando books are some of my favorite EU books, and they're just shy of my absolute favorite, which is the X-Wing series.
Yeah, my friend Weaponized Nerd Rage, he absolutely loves the Mandalorians as well. He keeps railing about them. I haven't gotten really into it yet, but I'm going to if I keep getting recommendations for it.
Read the Clone Commando books. They are literally the greatest in-depth look at Mandalorian culture.
Yeah, those guys are awesome.
And they take a really good ethical look at using the clone army that Clone Wars and no one else ever got close to.
Can you give an example?
The fact that they were using basically a slave army, and some of the Jedi started realizing this and, grappling with the implications of it.
Yep. Oh, the Moist has joined us. What's up, dude?
May you all be blessed with moisture.
Exactly. We needed some moisture up in here.
Well, I mean, I am bisexual.
I got my Twitter password, so I had to reset that shit.
Oh yeah. So how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. I watched I was on the Attack of the Clones live stream earlier with World Class Bullshitters. Sipping on whiskey all day, so I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Oh, nice. What time is it over where you're at?
It is 7:06 p.m.
Oh, nice. An Eastern one. Alrighty. Nice. Yep. Do you know Black Angus, Geoff TheIronWolf, Dalton, any of these guys?
I'm familiar in the comment section with most of you guys. So
okay, cool. That's good. It seems like the circle of the shitters goes everywhere, spreads far.
Wait. Sorry, I didn't realize this is the Brandon Moist.
Yes.
No, the other Brandon Moist.
No. I was thinking it was Moist Jeremy.
Oh no, there's a Moist Jeremy.
Yes.
I didn't know there was a Moist Jeremy. For real, I thought that was a joke.
No, there is one.
Jeremy, I must meet them. I am moist. Like I am the moist.
Oh man, we have a cool Jeremy.
But are you the guy behind the moist meter is the question.
That is not me. No, that is not me.
He wishes it was though.
But my actual last name is Moist.
That must have gotten you made fun of a lot as a kid. I'm sorry.
I mean, actually, ironically, where I'm from Central Pennsylvania. There's actually a bunch of Moists around there. There's like two or three different families. It's kind of like if you played Red Dead Redemption.
Where about Pennsylvania?
Like a bunch of Moists running around.
Hey, Brandon, where about in Pennsylvania?
Right outside of State College, Lewistown.
I know exactly where that is.
So
yeah,
my last name is
that's just a couple hours away from where I'm at.
Harrisburg area.
All right, sweet. No, I went to school at Shippensburg, and then I presently live in Manassas, Virginia.
Manassas. I've driven through there a few times. I'm a truck driver by trade, so.
Yeah.
Caitlin, the keeper of Jeremy, says, "I didn't know there was a Moist Jeremy in there. Point her to the account."
Yeah.
I've only seen him once. I don't even remember it. But.
I see on the chat, Tim Chris says, "Brandon Moist, are you a cop?" I am not a cop. No, I'm not. I'm about as far
Officer Moist.
Hey, Angus, I can top that. My wife and I knew two people that will make you slightly laugh, if not blush. We knew a Seaman Dick and a Seaman Swallows.
Are they related or are they not related?
Not related, but they were both. We went to.
That's great. Their parents must have had a great sense of humor with that.
No. The chick named Seaman Dick, She was an E3, so she's a seaman. Her last name is Dick.
Okay.
Just think if they got married, they could be
Oh, no.
Dick Swallows.
No, his last name was Swallows. He was a seaman.
I thought you were gonna say swallows dick, but whatever.
Either way, if she's like a feminist, she'd hyphenate her name.
The DJD show is like, be right back, beer, which he said that like 3 times in the chat so far. So he's going down in deep as well.
Feeling good. Hey, Moist, what whiskey are you drinking?
I am drinking. Oh God, I don't even know if I want to say it right now. It's called Sam Clay. Since 1854. It was like $20 at the ABC store. So
I just bought me a fresh bottle of Windsor Rye, so I too subscribe to cheap whiskey.
There you go.
Now you got to try some good bourbon.
No light pounders I'm slamming into right now.
And if you guys ever want a good sipping bourbon, grab Booker's. 10-year-old barrel aged. Oh my God. My dad brought me a bottle of that when I was still in the Marine Corps in California. 161 proof. I had about 2 ounces and I was crawling on the floor.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are your guys' opinions of Honey Jack? I keep getting it recommended to me, but I haven't tried it yet.
I haven't tried it.
I'm not a huge drinker. When I had my first legal drink, I've had some stuff before. But when I had my first real one, I ordered a Roman Coke because I thought it was a Roman Coke, but it's a rum and Coke. So that tells you how much of a novice I am with alcohol.
So what you're saying is you wanted a rum and Coke with spiced toast in it because that's how the Romans would have probably made it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Ricky, you guys want to hear about my 21st birthday?
Sure.
Man,
well, my 21st birthday, I was in Okinawa, but I flew home Christmas Eve. So all my family and friends on the base threw me a belated 21st birthday party. I got the 21 glass salute. I did 20 shots and a trailer shot in 2.5 hours.
Damn.
Mixed.
Are you a Force ghost? Is the appropriate question to follow that revelation.
Force ghost wolf.
Thoughts and prayers. Holy hell.
Oh, that was. Let's just say, I remember crawling up to bed. I tried to puke in the garbage can and missed, and we were on a laminate floor. After that, it gets really hazy, and then I remember waking up the next morning with the worst hangover of my life.
Yep, sounds about right.
The ghost wolf. Or the iron ghost.
Yeah.
That's good.
But my wife was just trying to make a point of, yeah, you could probably drink pretty good, but don't do it too much. And she made her point loud and clear. Like, anytime I drink anything hard now, I still have the shakes.
Moist, I'm wondering, how's your 21st?
My 21st actually was not very eventful. My birthday is on Christmas, so.
Oh dang!
So what you're saying is your 21st birthday was not moist?
It was. Believe me, at least when I was 21 years from there, it was very moist. But no, I was actually born in the middle of a snowstorm, so I brought a lot of moisture.
So was I. My birthday's the 12th of this month. It snowed. I was born in Cheverly, Maryland. It snowed 16 inches the day I was born.
I think I was born in State College, PA, and it was about a foot whenever I was born. So
yeah,
1993.
Hell yeah!
Actually, the funny part is my dad was going to speak at a Maryland State Senate, and I actually got mentioned because the person running the meeting had asked my dad, like, you just had a son born, right? And he's like, well, congratulations. What's his name? And I actually got mentioned that night for being born in the Maryland State Senate. I'm like, hey,
yeah,
I'm already making waves.
Nice.
The Rookie Critic. I'm seeing all these movie titles on your like little profile picture or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Do you want to break those down? Why you got them there?
Yeah, sure. I guess so. I need to pick an actual icon. For a while, I had myself up there holding the camera, looking confused, like to represent that I'm a rookie. And then I was like, I talk about movies, so I'll put movie tiles up there. So we got the Act of Valor, which for a while was one of my favorite movies, but I haven't wanted to watch it ever again, so I don't really count it as that anymore. Then we got Alien Planet, which is a documentary thing that you could see on YouTube for free. It's like an hour and a half long. Shows how evolution would have gone on a different planet, which I think is pretty cool. And then there's Deep in the Valley, which has Chris Pratt before he was super popular, and like they go into like a porno booth world. It's kind of funny. It's like a weird little one. And then Tremors, Jurassic Park, Spartacus, the popular ones.
Park. That was the first movie I ever saw with surround sound.
To Jurassic Park.
It was freaking weird to hear the T-Rex walking up behind me. It's like, what the?
Yeah. you know what you should do? You should do like a picture with like a rook, as in chess rook, with like a beret, and then one of those what do they call them? The markers for like scene transitions, and that should be your icon.
That's not a bad idea. I'll look up some of those.
Well, I can
talking about the clacker?
I made my own icon there. If you want me to see if I can make you one, that's cool.
Yeah, maybe that'd be interesting. Yeah, I was trying to look for what would represent an icon better, because I just keep on putting this, or somebody suggested to put like TRC with like a film roll around it or something, which I might look into that too. So I'm not sure. I'll keep in touch with you about that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, after the stream, I don't mind working on that. If you want me to like send you some speculative ones.
Yeah, sure, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yep. I was gonna say, actually, in a little bit, I got to be going to work. I want to eat something and then head on to work. So, if you guys want to say anything before we close out, starting with Wolf.
All right. Well, I'm gonna do a quick promo. I used to do a series called Ships of Forgotten Lore, and then I kind of got into the politics thing. But I think starting next week, I'm going to do a weekly segment where I grab it. It's going to be first starting out in Star Wars, and I'm just going to branch out. It's basically ships that have shown up, but no one ever really talks about. So I want to kind of, shine the limelight on them and be like, hey, there's all these great ships, all these different universes that no one ever really talks about. So here they are.
I like the sound of that.
Hey, Wolf, I watched your Sarek video. I only really know the first 5 movies of the original series. Is Sarek, is that scene where him and Spock's like live long and prosper, fathers? Is that 3?
That's 4. That's the voyage home.
Oh, okay. Well, I love that scene, dude. I was thinking it was 3.
Yeah, that's number 4.
Yeah, 4 is my favorite, and that when you're talking about Sarek, like I don't follow this new crap going on with Star Trek. I didn't like really before I knew Star Trek. Didn't like JJ's crap, and now that I know some more, I really don't like it, and it's just sad because first time seeing it, I really resonated with the whole Sarek and Spock thing. I didn't know the whole backstory about like, oh, he's half human, so Sarek's always kind of been begrudging towards that.
Well, and that, it's like in the new JJ verse, which is the thing that was a really big wedge. If you ever watched the original series, Journey to Babel, when you first meet Sarek, Sarek and Spock were at odds for years because Spock refused to go in. Spock got accepted to the Vulcan Science Academy, which, he was the first half Vulcan to ever do it, but he turned it down to join Starfleet, and his father felt snubbed, and they didn't talk to each other for probably about 15 years.
Yeah.
But it's just...
And even still really tense, and then you get to Star Trek 3 when Spock dies, and to see Sarek march in on Kirk and literally be that emotional that Spock's dead and you don't have his Katra was like shocking almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like that scene where he's like, live long and prosper, father, just hit me in the feels. I hope, me and my son have that kind of, interaction where it's like, oh, take care, Dad. It's just like, oh, you hit me,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's actually them reconciling, basically.
Yeah.
All right, so Angus, you want to say your final piece?
Yeah. So, I don't know if y'all caught, like, I can't remember what stream it was on, but right before we started, me and Flipped Out were talking. Because I only watched Black Panther once in theaters. I own it on Blu-ray, but I never rewatched it for all these months. But just thinking about the plot, I was getting really pissed off about, like, wait, how does any of this work? they tell you, oh, they pretend to be third world country, etc. It really pissed me off. So I finally made a thinking piece about the problem of Black Panther going forward, and let's check it out. I hope y'all enjoy it. I did some research about a couple of iconic genocide happenings in Africa in the 90s as reference, and of course the slave trade as a critique of Wakanda. And you can say, just to preface, you can say that any character in the MCU is problematic going forward for their powers, like Doctor Strange or whatever, especially if they've been in the universe for a long time before the movies start. But none of them have the social acclaim and critical acclaim like Black Panther, and articles saying it's so great for black people. And me, a black guy, I didn't buy into it, and I researching more about Africa, I really don't buy into it, and actually kind of hate Black Panther now.
Well, the thing is, you start to sympathize with Killmonger more.
Oh, it's not even that angle, even though he has some points. But any people that like football as well as Star Wars and nerd stuff, check me out. And let me know what you think of my Black Panther piece if you watch it.
All right, yep, I gave that one a watch. That was a very nice, well-researched video, man. It's pretty good. And Brandon Moist, I know that you and Dalton haven't been like a special guest on the stream yet or anything, but I'll probably invite you guys to some future ones too. There's plenty more coming on in December. There's a couple this week actually, including tomorrow and then Wednesday and Thursday, and quite a few. I think the 12th and whatnot. So there's gonna be quite a few. So anything you want to say to the chat before we go?
Quick, just to respond to Black Angus there. Actually, one of my focuses right now is in college was sub-Saharan African history. So love to connect with you, man. With it sounds like you.
Yeah, dude, hit me up on Twitter, or contact me through the YouTube video or whatever. But yeah, Twitter is a good way to DM me once I know whatever your handle is. We can follow each other in message.
No, it's just at Brandon Moist. It's very, very obvious.
You type it up. I think it comes up first when you type in Moist.
Yeah.
All right. And
I guess just to close out, I say Rookie Critic, thank you for having me on here, man. Just real quick, but I love that I found you guys, man. I mean, through World Class Bullshitters is where I found everybody here.
Yeah, no problem. I love inviting people on, man.
Yeah, I was just so disenfranchised from The Last Jedi for like a few months. I'm just like, what the fuck just happened? And then I saw, I think the first video I saw was Jeremy, one of his videos that criticized him. It's like, all right, I can get on this. And then I saw EVS's original Last Jedi critique before it got taken down.
Oh yeah.
And then I saw World Class Bullshitters. I'm just like, all right, yes, these are the people. And then I found the High Council. I'm just like, this is where I need. And then one night, I'm just like, the Moist is going off. Let's get Moist here. So
I remember when that happened, when that first caught fire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Execute Order Moist.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And Dalton, what about you?
If you don't mind, I'm just gonna shill.
Go ahead.
Hi guys, my name is Dalton Mortimer. I professionally I go by The Authenticator here on YouTube. My channel is The Authenticator. Mostly on my channel, what you get is a series which I call A Mystics Vlogs, where I examine fantasy and supernatural based like media and shows and movies and stuff through an occult lens, because 12-year veteran of the occult. You can also usually find me over on a bunch of Comicsgate YouTube channels. Particularly, I'm always a guest on I Love Comics' live streams. You can follow me on Twitter at The Authenticator, which is spelled without a U, just because there wasn't enough space in the character limit, I guess. And I also do videos on like philosophy and postmodernism and that kind of thing. So if that's your bag, please give me a look. I'm 2 away from hitting 50 subscribers right now, and
I just subscribed to you, so you might already be there.
Just give me a follow on Twitter. So
yeah, hey Dalton, one of these times you and me will have to do a thing about philosophy and chew the fat.
Please do. I was a philosophy major for 3 years and independently studied philosophy for pretty much my entire life before that. So
Authenticator.
Yeah.
You just hit 50.
Yeah. Nice, man.
Networking
We'll get you 100 by the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm a real Twitter whore. I'll help you out.
Yeah, he's a good hype man for that. And when you come onto these streams, people at least get a little boost every now and then. So hopefully you can get to 100.
And also feel free to have me on whenever you guys want, because I pretty much do nothing except just my free time and YouTube. So if you guys want me on a stream, or you're looking for a third wheel or whatever, just shoot me the link and I will be on.
All right, no problem.
hey, Rookie. You want to tell everyone about the FC we're creating?
Oh, about the fandom collective recruiting.
Yeah.
I was going to talk more about that once we have it more fully established. But yeah, so we're calling this section of the Fandom Menace the Fandom Collective, I suppose. Kind of started with me, Angus, and Wolf, the Iron Wolf. And, we got Sith Kryptonian and Flipped Out and a lot of other people just coming on. And we try to interact each other with streams and sometimes collab on videos, and like Anomaly Inc. and The Entertainment Hacker and Nerdette's Newsstand, Psychology Nerd. There's a lot of people, even ones that don't have YouTube channels, Princess Aruka, Jazz Oldfield, that we bring on that don't have any content but still are good to have on for conversation. We like to build people up, even if you got 0 subs or a million subs. I mean, we try to have fun and get each other out there and get subs up. It was fun getting Flip and Sith to over 100 subs and whatnot. So it's a pretty fun ride. That's the Fandom Collective for you.
Exactly. No,
You're the collective. You will be a
similar. One more shameless plug.
Futile.
Was that Moist?
I'm gonna have one more shameless plug here, quick.
Okay.
I'm actually I mentioned it on World Class Bullshitters earlier. I'm working on a horror novel. I'm planning on it coming out in 2019. So we're gonna, right now I'm about 30 to 40 pages in right now, depending on how you space out, whether you hit double space or not, on Microsoft. But I'm working on a horror novel based off of, I'm a huge Stephen King fan, so just trying to. I
thought you said Seaman King.
I thought you said Seaman King too.
Very moist.
You always got to bring those in there, Moist.
But no, I'm a huge fan of Stephen King novels and stuff. But so I've been working on a novel that I've been working on for it's probably about the past year. But most of it's just been planning and trying to get from point A to point B to point C to whatever. 2019, keep your eyes open. I'm not going to Patreon or anything on it, but I'll just keep you guys posted up here in the comment section of everything. Bullshitters Work Critic, everything.
Hey, Moist, if you need somewhere to release it, we're actually working on a website. So,
yeah, definitely. So, yeah, to get it exposed to as many people as possible, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, hell yeah. We'll do that. We'll help you out with that.
Rookie's already putting it up, but I'm already working on a rewrite of The Last Jedi. Right now, I'm just in the process of picking out specific scenes and things that I want to be redone, and then trying to put it into the book.
That is a monumental task. God bless you.
Yeah, but there's a lot of us working on a lot of projects, and one of the things that I want to do is have a place where people can find ones like us. Like, we're not one of the 15,000 or more subscriber area numbers. So I'm trying to make a little website where people can find us and our projects, and find everything all at one place. So you don't have to search through 50 different YouTube searches. You can just go to one page and find all these different creators and find their projects, their social medias and stuff. So working on that right now. And
that's a great idea. I mean, and anyone here in let's say I'm in Northern Virginia, right outside of DC. If you're right outside of DC, Northern Virginia, within 30 miles of DC, feel free to shoot me a message. Hey, let's meet up at a bar or something. Like, I feel like the more people that we could get to meet in person throughout the country and not throughout the world, the stronger this community will get. And I think that'd be great. I just love to meet everybody.
Guys, I personally will be at Star Wars Celebration coming up in 2019. So,
hell yeah, dude. Yeah, I think that's good. That's how we're supposed to do it, man. I think that's why we're calling it the Fandom Collective too. It's like the Fandom Menace was the reaction to The Last Jedi and our chances to hate on it. And now it's moving up to creativity, building up channels, other things on things that's not just based on hating The Last Jedi for the most part. So, spreading out a little bit. And we're also having a debate soon in January on Black Angus Reviews channel with the AT-AT chat. If you guys see him on Twitter sometimes, he's really pro The Last Jedi and Disney Lucasfilm right now. So that'll be a fun one.
I have a very hungry wife staring dangerous eyes on me, so I got to jam.
All right, we're about to close out anyway.
Hungry eyes.
So have a good night, guys.